Hey guys, happy Friday. I'm recording this a day early. I usually record on Saturday. This is the weekly astrology forecast for the week of Sunday, September 7th through Saturday, September 13th. And I'm recording it a day early just to make sure that everybody that wants the download from the eclipse can get both of these things at the same time. And I want to talk before I get into the minutia here about what the feeling of this week might be like. And the thing that kicks off the week is this lunar eclipse on Sunday, September 7th, and that is a big theme for this week. It's a big theme for this month. It's a big theme for the next 6 months to come. We're going to be unpacking this for quite a while. And it's a north node lunar eclipse. The eclipse is about realizations, trusting ourselves, using our intuition, and really being willing to let go of things that energetically might not be serving us. So this is a really important week for us to be moving inward and trusting our intuition and not just going on autopilot. And so I think that itself is kind of the overarching theme, especially the middle of the week. But we're going to get toward the end of the week, and I'll get to it by the end of the broadcast. Why we're going to have some strokes of good luck potentially by the time we get around to Friday and Saturday. So let's start with Sunday the 7th. We have the lunar eclipse in the sign of Pisces. Realizations and release, and eclipses pick us up and out of linear space and time. So if there's something for some reason that we might have been overlooking, or our higher self, so as to keep us on our soul's path, wants to make sure that we're aware of, it might come in around this time. Eclipses are cuspy, everything is cuspy. So everything that I talk about is kind of this gestalt. It doesn't mean that on this particular day and this exact time something has to happen. Otherwise, it's not happening. It means that this is when the energy comes to an apex, but it might have already been influencing us, or it might show up into our 3D world a little bit thereafter. But it's important, I think, for me personally, to just be aware of the theme. So we have that eclipse, but we also have Venus in the sign of Leo, sesquiquadrate Saturn in Pisces. And this is kicking off a little bit of the challenging energy that we're going to be feeling at the start of this week. And this is a challenge to find balance and creative possibility. And this is perfect for Venus in the sign of Leo. She's wanting us to find balance. But if we look at what's happening during the first part of this week, all the way through Thursday, we've got a lot of sort of challenging, opposing, frictional energies between an inner planet, a personal planet, and an outer planet, a transpersonal generational planet. And so here, Venus and Saturn are really coming up with something for us to, these are sort of these karmic lessons. These are the lessons that if we were just on autopilot buzzing around our world in the 3D world, we might not get them. But if we keep our ear to the energetic pulse, we're going to be able to find a new type of harmony and balance. And the theme here with this eclipse is as within, so without. So the balance comes from internal realizations. On Monday, we have Venus again. This time she's sesquiquadrate Chiron in Aries, and we have the Sun also in the sign of Virgo, sesquiquadrate Pluto in Aquarius. So Venus challenged by Chiron, Sun challenged by Pluto. These types of challenges are these mundane world compared to the world, the astral world, the spiritual world. There's many words that people use for the things that we can't, knock on wood, and see and feel at this particular moment in time. So this is really, these challenges are coming up because we're going to be shown some new ways to creatively solve any challenge or any friction in our lives. And this is going to be part of this eclipse theme, which is motivating us to pivot if we need to. On Tuesday, the 9th, we have Venus again. This time she's quincunx, the north node, and quincunxes also signal a need for adjustment. So again, we have Venus, this personal planet, the north node, not a planet, but very much about the esoteric, why our soul is even here in this body, on this planet, in this lifetime. And we have the eclipse in the sign of Pisces, and that eclipse is, we have both Luna and the North Node in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is about culling and the culmination of the wisdom that we have experienced thus far. So the other thing that might happen around this eclipse and in this week is that there is a lesson that we have been refining. maybe the lesson was a real big lesson 20 years ago, and now 15 years ago it's a pretty good lesson, and I'm being a little bit dramatic, and every time we work with this lesson, we seem to become more efficient and more adept at exercising our soul strength. So there's a chance that this week this lesson might just not even really affect us, but come into our awareness, come into our aura, and we're going to be able to handle it. And this might be the nice thing here is there's a really good opportunity with this eclipse and at this cycle for ancestral healing. Because if we have soul lessons, they are within our soul, but our soul chose our our parents and our ancestors because they were, however perfectly perfect they are and however perfectly imperfect they are, all those aspects were part of our harmonization so that our humanity would be on course for why we're here. On Wednesday, we have the sun in opposition to the North Node. So, sun in Virgo, 3D reality, ego, identification of self is going to be in opposition to what just came through in this eclipse. What does that mean? That means that again, there might be something about how we're operating. It doesn't mean that we have to let go of our ego. It doesn't mean we have to go through some major healing crisis. It really just means for us to be aware of those things that we're running in our life that might not be truly optimally operational for where our soul truly knows that we can get to. Part of what's happening with this eclipse is I call it a portal. The portal opens. This is Mick Jagger. He's running around next to me. Little entertainment for you guys. The eclipse is a portal, and this portal is really about helping us realize that we can imagine and create and be a part of something that is truly magical, above and beyond linear space and time. Some of the stuff that we might see at the end of this year and definitely into next year is going to blow our minds. And if we're still stuck to the old ways, if we're still clinging to the old ways of doing and being and the hows and the wheres and the whys and the whats and why and where and how we're valuable and why and where and how we're safe, then we might miss some really cool opportunities to be part of something even more magical. So trust it and go within and take really good care of yourself, especially during this first part of this week. That doesn't, and I mean that to say, like, drink a lot of water, do a little bit more meditation, spend some time with those you love and the animals you love, and do things that are good for you. That's the other thing that's coming through about this eclipse. Virgo is a health axis sign in general. So, and she's meticulous, and this is about our 3D health, but it's about our energetic hygiene as well. So the themes about this week might be about things and people and places and behavioral habits that Virgo might be showing us, hey, this person or this thing or this assumption or this habit, yeah, ready to do something a little different. Hey, like it's not going to be, this isn't to be this big, like, cannonball dropping on your foot experience. It could really be just something that we have a realization of. So we also have on Wednesday, Venus still in the sign of Leo. This time she's semi-sextile Jupiter in Cancer. And this is also just kind of it's a subtle energy. A lot of these aspects I'm talking about are subtle aspects that a lot of astrologers don't talk about, but I believe these subtle aspects are equally, if not more powerful for us. And this is about awareness and the ability to integrate. And so Jupiter's kind of showing us, especially in the emotional, intuitive side of Cancer, that the way for justice and harmony and expansion is integration. So that means integrating first we have to go first, integrating all of us, everything about us, and then bringing that integrated self out into the world. We still have a little bit of challenging energy coming through on Thursday, and that's Mercury is again sesquiquadrate, this time Pluto in Aquarius, and Mercury is also opposing the North Node. So Pluto and the North Node, outer planets, subtle energy, generational type stuff. Mercury changes signs, moves real fast, something that we're very familiar with in the 3D world. So this challenge is going to be, again, about the themes that are here are about balance and about harmonizing and about if the integration is supposed to happen, if there's a creativity to this integration. This isn't just go back out and do the same old thing and just business as usual by any stretch. This is learning how to work with our astral consciousness to integrate, maybe even having conversations in astral consciousness so as to clean up timelines and clean up relationships and clean up agreements and clean up shop in our lives. By the time we get to Friday the 12th, we have some flowing energy coming, and I'll get to why this. There's an even there's another overarching theme that's happening this week that kind of signals that maybe there's a little bit of challenge at the start, but by the time we get toward the end, we're going to be able to feel the flows of the energy. So we have the sun in Virgo, sextiling Jupiter in Cancer, and the sun's also biquintiling Chiron, and those are flowing. Those are uniquely creative energies, and Chiron's lighting up here to kind of just remind us that the things that are most challenging, those things that are maybe heaviest for us, if we're really willing to work with them, they might become our superpower. They might become something that only we can contribute to. And this is this idea of really working with everything that is present without judgment in our lives, within ourselves, and really being able to release what needs to be released and integrate in a way, as I'm saying, something that's new, something that's a new habit, something that's a new way of combining things or making ourselves feel balanced and harmonious. We also have on Friday Mercury sextiling Jupiter and biquintile Chiron. So Jupiter is kind of doing the same thing with the sun as it is with Mercury, which means that it might be a good time for us to think about communication and the ways that how we can shift and upgrade and have more creative flows and more intuitive flows with our communication. And the word authenticity comes up when we talk about intuition, because it means we're not self-censoring according to the habitual ways that we've always identified as to how we are and who we are. And by the time we get to Saturday, we have something really cool. We have the sun exactly conjunct Mercury, and we have Mars by quintile the North Node, and Venus by quintile Saturn. So biquintiles are you going to help us be creative, and that conjunction, the exact conjunction between the sun and Mercury, is a part of an overarching larger theme that is present throughout this week. So there's something that happens when the sun gets close to a planet, and there's a spectrum of what happens with the conjunction of a planet with the sun. It's a pretty interesting spectrum. There's three phases that a planet goes through as it approaches the sun. If you think about this, it has to do with the proximity, the heat, the light, and the planet's ability to be itself, and the planet's ability to have a perfect merger with the sun and have a spotlight shined. So the first phase is called under the beams, and that's within a planet is within 15 degrees of a sign. Here we're talking about sun and Mercury. And this means that there's some hidden and secretive energies that are probably coming through around the time of the eclipse with Mercury, that there's going to be some secretive things that we can do with our, and this is about, again, for me, that I'm getting an intuitive hit, that this is about the downloads that we can see, and this is about the intuitive hunches about, and our ability to communicate beyond verbal communication and written communication. The second phase is the sun and whatever planet it is gets closer together is called combustion. And that's generally when a planet is around 9 degrees from the sun. And this becomes a more challenging energy. And so the positive aspects of whatever planet there is are weakened, and the challenges are heightened. And this is actually happening in sync with what I just described for this whole week. It's happening in sync with the beginning part of this week. And so this means that it's okay if we're having some communication challenges. This is precisely what's on point, what's up for realization. And these challenges are kind of preparing us for what comes next, which is called a cazimi. And that's when a planet is within 16 to 17 arc minutes of the sun. And that means that the planet suddenly becomes very super empowered. And as I mentioned, it's kind of like the planet's a spotlight. Thank you, Mick Jagger. I need some space. The planet gets a spotlight shined on it, and there's this moment of clarity or illumination. There's this sweet spot. So for us, this means that by the time we are in this week, toward the end of the week, this cazimi is going to be exact around Friday and Saturday and Sunday. And so this means that there's going to be these points where we're going to be able to speak our truth and receive the truth and have upgraded communication downloads and upgraded communication receptivity. And so with the sun and Mercury, to just rehash, the first part of the week is going to maybe be an overactive mind. We might feel a little bit anxious. We might feel difficulty or have some racing thoughts. That's why I was saying it's really important to go within. It's really important to carve out time this week to meditate, self-care, treat ourselves really well. We're Virgo is in the air, literally and figuratively, and Virgo is encouraging us to take care of ourselves. By the time we reach the end of the week, the Cazimi, Mercury Cazimi is really about enhanced mental clarity, and it's about insightful communication. Brings our focus into a hyper focused, sharp laser beam focus, and it gives us really powerful problem solving abilities. So the self care at the beginning of the week and the realizations that we have are going to help us kind of uh, shoot out of the and beyond the challenges by the end of the week. I am remiss in doing a weekly meditation just because I've been so busy here on the farm packaging herbs for the online herbal store. But I'm going to do a meditation this Tuesday, I promise, because I need it and I believe we need it for this week. Have a blessed week. And really, truly, this eclipse season is magical. And it's a time where everything that's happening, we get to trust that everything is always working out for us. All right. Me and Mick Jagger say happy eclipse, happy second week of September, bright blessings, and so much love.